Hello again. Um, Today's video I'm making is just really a little bit of an update, along with some specific information from some things that I'm having to deal with in the fish room. Right now I'm just getting a kick out of these baby guppies and baby mollies, and I'm just using this tank right now obviously as a grow out tank, but I'm also using it as sort of a cleanup factory, if you will, for plants that maybe haven't done so well in some of the other tanks. And what I'm finding, and I know I have kind of maybe a little bit of an extreme situation in terms of stocking in this particular tank, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. But what I'm finding is that they just do a wonderful job of keeping algae of a wide variety, either at bay, or honestly, they've done a wonderful job of eating it back for me when I put plants in here that are really in bad, dire strait. Um, Obviously, I think the mollies are doing the bulk of the work, but I gotta say, I've been really interested to see how much work the guppies have been doing when they're hungry, and it's that balance point, right? Like they're growing. So no, I don't want them to be hungry. I want them to have what they need. But you can see right here that they do pick at the plants and the wood. And they'll come up and investigate and eat things off of it. Now, if I come here to the bottom, I think this is more, maybe they'll prove me wrong. But typically you'll also see them just scavenging off the bottom. But again, you'll see them more interested in the plants and the wood that I have in here more often than not. And this is an anubias that I moved in not too long ago, and you can see where I had that sort of black, I don't even know if you'd call it diatom algae or some kind of hard algae that I just could not even get. I mean, in this tank in the previous tank, I had even some autosynclus, big fat autosynclus, and maybe that's the problem. But I couldn't even get them to really work on it for me. In this tank, I have a bunch of baby guppies, a handful, and by that I mean maybe 4 or 5 little baby mollies who are just relentless. I've heard that they're great for cleaning up things like algae and all kinds of different stuff, but I honestly have been shocked at the number it takes to really make a dent in some things. Now, there's some downsides to any fish that you're using like that. One of the biggest things with mollies is, for me, just population control, because I do have, quite a few tanks, but it's not like I want them breeding out of control. And so no matter where you catch one, they're just always working. So I found that to be cool. These are the plants that I made in the last video that I made, that I traded my local fish store for. And I kind of didn't know how they would do. This is a layered substrate tank. You can see what I have go in there: a mixture of aqua soil, crushed shell, and gravel. And I'm trying to find a balance point for my water conditions, I guess, because while also supporting plant life, because my hard water, I think, is not great for a lot of different plants, and the aqua soil makes a big difference, I've found. But then what I run into over time is the aqua soil lowering my pH, and so in some certain cases that's great, and I really like that. But in other cases I want to kind of maintain a higher pH and hardness. And so I'm hoping this sort of, I don't know, idea of a mixture, I'm always kind of trying to experiment, but I'm hoping this mixture will work better, and these stem plants seem to be adjusting for me. So to go along with just a general update, and I promise I won't spend this much time on every tank, this is just kind of one of my current favorites, and I love the baby fish in here growing out, so I wanted to spend a good time just showing it. So I'm gonna talk about some issues that I ran into with parasites, which kind of caught me off guard. And some medicine that I've been using with, I believe it's pronounced as levamisole, and it's been working wonders for me. And in general, does he have, this guppy's got like, he's either holding on to a little piece of fiber or hair, anyway. And so I want to talk a little bit about, when I get to that tank, my experience so far with that treatment, and then I also have some updates on TDS and reiterating some lessons that I think I can make clear for myself and anybody else who might be interested. So let's move on to the next tank before I talk any longer on this. Okay, so I'm gonna stay on this tank for the majority of me talking real quick, but to pan over, this is my female breeding, I would say, guppy breeder tank that I have set up really just for female only guppies, and then a few little rainbow fish that I'm continuing to grow out that I've hatched from the big 75, and they're growing up nicely. They just take forever and a day to grow up. I also don't have a lot of big tanks right now, and so I'm taking my time just kind of really wanting to make sure I could hatch them if I wanted to and see what that's like. I'm pretty excited about this albino female. I think she's about ready to give birth here soon, but what I ran into the other day, I was either this big female or one of the other ones had a big old nasty worm hanging out of its rear vent. And after some Googling, it was a little bit, I mean, still I'm kind of inconclusive, I guess. But I thought it resembled what maybe could be camelinus worms, which is a atrocious name if you ask me, so I'll avoid saying it. But all the pictures that I've seen of that parasite make them look pink or red. This was not pink or red. This was a very white worm, and there was just one. And so I pulled out some medication. I'm gonna show it real quick because it's so fantastic. It's called Fritz expel-p. Okay, you can find it on Amazon. Any local fish shop's gonna have it. And what it does is it's gonna paralyze your worms in your fish and in your tank. And immediately when I put it in the water, this worm just started falling out. And so it was a little shocking, I gotta tell you, but I was thankful to see that it was a permanent sort of affliction for the worms. They fell to the bottom of the gravel and they died. The issue that I'm concerned with now is just continuing to monitor for eggs, because a lot of times the medications won't treat the unhatched eggs in there, and so a lot of the videos that I've been watching will call for a 3-week treatment just for that reason, and then frequent gravel vacs, which I've been doing, because as those worms fall out of the fish, they may have eggs on them, and then of course guppies are going to do what guppies are going to do. They go to the bottom of the tank, they eat that crud up and ingest the eggs, and then sure enough you got worms again in them. So I'm on week 1 right now. They've been treated for, this is the 3rd day, and I've just been really maintaining water quality, watching for worms on the gravel, which it's amazing. You'll see them come, and then you gotta, you just get in there and gravel vac it, and then 1 week from treatment day, I'm gonna treat again, same treatment, same process, wait a week. You do a water change 24 hours afterwards, and then from that point on, it's just maintaining worms in the gravel. And then on the 3rd week you do the same thing, and after 3 weeks hopefully they're clear. The only thing that I want to figure out is I got females that I know are pregnant in there, and we'll just have to see how birthing goes with that medication in the water. That's going to be totally new for me. It's going to suck if I lose some of my albino ones, because those will be my first babies with the albino. But we'll see, and I'll just keep y'all updated. These are the growing out male guppies. I have some albino reds in there and some tuxedo koi. And they're just trucking along, doing great. The plants in here I'm also pretty happy with. So yep, that's this tank. In here, I guess I'll take a minute to show a pretty fat, the cat's making noise over here. Sorry, knocking stuff off the dryer. She may come in and cause problems for us. These are the pea puffers that I have, that I feed a mixture to, so it's a mixture of live food in terms of scuds and a variety of different kind of snails, small side for the snails so they can eat them all. And then I also have frozen bloodworms, frozen daphnia, live baby brine shrimp that I hatch out. This is the newest batch of baby guppies. And let me see if I can get it to even focus in on one. They're tiny. And I have yet to go through and still cull any that may have spine deformities or just genetic things that I don't find favorable. One thing that I found disturbing in this tank, it won't affect the guppies, but I'm also trying to grow out some yellow neocaridina shrimp in here and recover a population that I almost lost. So I have planaria. Let me see if I can find one. Katie, you troubling cat, come here. I know, but you're always up to no good when you come into this room. Come here. Hang on, everybody. Okay, and we're back. Sorry, everyone. So you can see, even just right here, right there, that is a problem. I have fed this tank quite heavily because of the babies in there and maintained water quality, but inevitably when you feed heavy, you're going to get some detrivores and some things in there, and that is a planaria. And I don't like planaria in my tanks. So I'm gonna have to see about treating this tank with no planaria eventually and go from there. Okay, I figure since she wants to be on the video so badly, I'll show you our friend here. This is Katie Cat, and yes, that's a reference to Letterkenny for anybody that may be a fan. And we named her that because she's always getting into things and causing problems, though I love her dearly. She loves the Fishroom, but she also likes to cause problems in here and get behind the tanks and sometimes rearrange your wires. So this is her little 5-minute. Hey, Katie Cat, don't get behind there. Okay, see? All right, hang on. Okay, and we're back. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a jostle. I wanted to show off one of my crip grow out tanks. I'm growing out 2 different kinds of crip in here that I've just struggled with. It may be my water, it may be me, but these ones are recovering. And I've also got some moss growing in here, and this thing up front is just some bulbitis that I've thrown in real quick, just as a temporary, again, grow out place. Other than that, I've just got shrimp in this tank. One of the things that I wanted to highlight about this tank that I just recently sort of realized, and I've heard about it before a time or two, but never experienced it myself, and I think that's why it struck me. So this tank recently, so this is my only tank without a top on it, and what that means is that the water evaporates quickly. At least in my area. It's dry, it's hot, especially this time of year. So when I see that, I have to continue to top off the water. It's usually not a lot, but it adds up over time. Sometimes I haven't even been doing water changes because all I have is shrimp, and so the bio load, the nitrates are never going to get high enough for it to be an alarm. So I take my TDS meter the other day and read it in this tank, and it's pushing like mid 600 700 TDS, and that's insane. Now I know TDS is just a general measurement. It doesn't tell you what is in the water. But what that does tell me is that just topping off this tank with my treated tap water, what happens is that the water evaporates, but the minerals don't. And the whatever is considered mineral. I mean, certainly you can tell that I'm not a biologist of any kind, but eventually that large amount of TDS is going to have a negative effect on my shrimp, no matter if it's caridina, neocaridina, any kind, and you're going to get more tolerance or less tolerance depending on what shrimp you have. But essentially the fix for this is I need to either, if it gets low from evaporation, I do a water change and have that be how I fill it back up to the top, or I always have distilled water, because I don't run RO water, but distilled and RO are pretty much the same end result. So if I do top off this tank from now on, it's going to have to be with distilled water only, so that TDS doesn't get out of control. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting thing that I realized, never seen firsthand, so I wanted to talk about it. Right here, I'm going to scoot over one tank and see if I can get it to focus, because I've just been getting such a kick out of this tank. So these are my aquatic isopods. I ordered them, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And you can see right now they're sharing this piece of spinach with what a lot of people would consider to be a pest, but some Malaysian trumpet snails that I always have in residence in my aquarium fish room. Let me see if I can find any others in here. I swear right before I started the video they were all out and about, but now they're not going to be anywhere. So like I said, I ordered these about 3 weeks ago from a YouTuber, or someone that I know from YouTube, called In My Tanks, and man, I tell you, it's been nothing but positive experience. So if you're looking for aquatic isopods, I know they're probably hard to keep in stock. They're just not, they're such a niche thing. But I appreciate that he had fair pricing for them. They came in super healthy, and I've been getting a kick out of watching them do their thing. So a couple things about them. As far as I can tell, and don't judge me for butchering these names, but they're of the family, what's called Lyricius. And that is an aquatic isopod from what as far as I can tell, is what's the Acylidae family. And they're native to, I think, some southern parts of Canada, North America, but Canada and parts of eastern US. I think they have a wider range than that even, but that's just kind of the quick info about them. What I've been finding is that they breed readily and constantly, at least in the aquarium. I think in the wild they might have breeding seasons, but in the house, you're going to keep them at such a warm temperature constantly that I've already seen them breed readily. I think the moms carry the babies, if you're familiar with how neocaridina shrimp work, or any kind of land isopod. It's the same with these guys. They carry eggs, the females do, for I think it's right around 30 days, but I think it can depend on things like water temp, and maybe some other things like food, but then they'll just give birth to a bunch of live babies, and they're tiny. I can't say as though I've actually seen any in my tank yet, because like I said, I've only had them for about 3 weeks, but I have seen some pregnant females. I've definitely seen some some action in terms of mating, and they're awesome. They'll eat anything from like you can see this little piece of spinach that I have in here. They love broccoli. Sometimes I'll sprinkle just a tiny bit of powder fish food in there for them. You got to be careful with it because they're detrivores. So you can see that I have a thick layer of leaves in this small tank for them. That's a mixture of oak and almond tree leaves. And as those decay in the water, you know, these guys will chow down on it. I just have some leftover aqua soil thrown in this tank, which I wouldn't even say is ideal for isopods. I just think they're pretty hardy. So that's a little bit on the isopods. Long term, what I'd like to find out is how well do they coexist with my shrimp colonies, because I'd love to get them in my planted aquariums, but I want to do that slowly. So I'll find a tank that I want to introduce them into, and we'll just kind of run that experiment. And of course, I'll keep y'all informed to see how that goes. Okay, so here's a tank that I used to have my pea puffer colony in, and it just got overrun with planaria and, to be honest, hair algae, and I wasn't having much luck. It was another kind of experiment tank that I had using a mixture of gravel over some aqua soil that's in mesh bags as a way of containing the mess, because sometimes when you go back in to move plants and things, then you create a mess with uplifting soil. It just never took off, or it took a while to take off. I think I still wouldn't say that it is, quote, taking off, but if you've seen it before, one of the things I have to say again is this Molly in here, which I kind of isolated just for the time being because he was being a bully to my other male. And honestly, this tank again was covered in hair algae. He has cleaned it spotless, or darn near spotless. That's a little Amazon sword. I mean, I must be doing something wrong if I'm killing Amazon swords, but this is the best that sword has looked since I got it. And so, you know, him keeping it clean has helped this bulbitis, the Amazon sword, these crip over here, even this pearlweed up front, which I usually do really well with, was dying, and now you can see that there's new green growth on it. So it starts so slow, but you got to be patient with it, and having a little bit of help in here. Next step for this tank would be adding shrimp back in, now that it's clear of planaria. And I just did the no planaria treatment on this tank. It worked like a charm. You can see some action over here. It worked like a charm, and I can't speak highly enough of no planaria if you have an issue with it. I haven't had a single issue with it killing my shrimp, even snails, honestly. I mean, I know it's said to be a little harsh for them, but I've had zero issues with it. So just happy, you know, that this tank has gotten to this point, because it is, you know, really the first time that I've felt like it's even worth talking about. And that's because of the progress that it's made. You can see some of the fish in my biggest aquarium here, the 75-80 gallon, somewhere around there. It's mostly rainbow fish and some tetras, and then I have some loaches. So it's a fun tank. I would not tell you with a straight face that I'm growing grass in here. These fish are brutal on plants. I mean, they are brutal. I wouldn't say that it's the rainbow fish as much as it is the tetras, but you know, it's just all of this extra grass that I have from my other tanks that I can just continue to pile in here, and they chew it back, and I just keep piling in more. So that's how this tank has worked. Couple of other things here as I'm wrapping up this video. I am experimenting in my small tanks with basically getting rid of heaters, at least as I'm getting into the warmest part of the year. So I've removed probably 4 or 5 heaters. I'm going to see what that does to my electric bill, and I'll also report back any negative effects on my fish. But right now I'm able to just heat the room, and you know, I'm sure as you've heard before, that is definitely the way to go versus having individual heaters in all of these darn aquariums. So, you know, I still have them distributed in a few of my tanks, but by and large I've gotten rid of them. The other thing, I don't know if anybody is keeping track out there, but just an update on this tank right here. This is where I used to have my mountain cloud minnows. And one thing you won't notice right now is any mountain cloud minnows. That's because I have them all officially moved outside to my pond, and I'm hoping that I can get that bad boy set up in a way that makes them more likely to breed. I just have had zero luck with getting them to breed in this aquarium, although they are doing the show all the time. So clearly something is eating them, and we'll just see how it goes outside. I've also heard recently that UV might have something to do with it, but that was in rice fish. But I just thought that was interesting that, if you have your fish and they're not breeding, sometimes introducing a little bit of UV light, which we typically don't have, is gonna maybe prompt them to breed. So we'll see how they do outside. I'm working on a video for that, so I'll keep you updated. Just a quick show of my blue Neocaridina tank. I think I've just about got that white fuzz condition figured out. Just been treating it with salt is all. So this tank's doing good. It's a little foggy as I just went through and re-upped some root tabs, and one of them floated back up on me. So word to the wise, that's a challenge when you're running these sort of planted tanks. And so I have never really had it impact negatively a tank to the point where I had things die, but it gets foggy. End up doing maybe a water change here, but that's the update on this aquarium. All good things, good progress so far. Very last thing that I'll talk about here before this video gets just entirely ridiculously long. This is our newest resident, a crested gecko. His name is Frito, and he has been doing great for us. We've had him for just probably a little under a week now, maybe probably just over a week actually. And so he's very much adjusting. I'll have more videos to come out that you can actually see him in, but I talked about him a little while ago coming in, and so I wanted to at least get a little bit of a video for y'all to come. Like I just said a minute ago, I'll have a video coming up on my outdoor ponds and how that's going. And then I mentioned in a couple videos ago that I want to get one just no talking, sort of just 10-minute feed of my quote-unquote display tank upstairs in the living room. And that's not to say that it's any sort of masterpiece, it's just where I try to keep my nicest plants and the widest variety of things. So keep an eye out for those videos to come. Thanks to anyone who managed to watch this ridiculously long video, and we'll see you next time. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks y'all, have a good day.